The Magicians Discovered, the Excluded Chapters from the Discoverie of Witchcraft by Reginald Scot, of course. And this is written by John Madziarczyk. The analysis is written by him, and the core texts and the supplementary texts are edited also by John Madziarczyk. He's also the owner of the publishing house Topaz House, the publishing company, and I guess that may be the reason why it's taken 6 years from the time of publication to the time of me, foolish fish, the guy who knows about all the esoteric books, right, for me to actually find out about him. And I found out about this trilogy of important books, and I really, and I guess you'll probably agree with me when I go into what it's all about. These are important books, and I found out about them just by accident. I was going through Facebook, and John had directly responded to someone in a comment on a random Facebook post somewhere, and he had posted a picture of the 3 books, one next to the other, and well, my eagle eye, of course, just went straight to it, and then I reached out to him and I said, "Listen, tell me more about it," and he very kindly sent me the 3 books, and I am astounded, absolutely astounded, that these have been just kept such a close secret. And I'm sure it's not intentional. It's just that John is spending a lot of his time writing, right? He has many books that he's published now, and all of that time spent researching, because clearly it's very, very thoroughly researched material. Researching and then writing at this very high level of quality. What kind of time does that leave to advertise oneself, right? To grow an online presence, and to also have, Instagram accounts and so on and so forth. It's impossible to do all the jobs required. And so, as a consequence, what you get is that every month you get so much rubbish printed, but it's well advertised, right? So you find out about it, and these gems that go unnoticed because of a lack of advertising. So what do we have here? Well, in 1580 something, I'm afraid I don't remember the dates exactly, Reginald Scot wrote The Discoverie of Witchcraft. Discovery in the archaic sense of the demonstration, the showing of, right? And the point of that book was to say to the Inquisition at the time, leave the witches alone. They're basically a bunch of idiots. What they are doing is harmless, can't possibly have any effect. It's just a load of rubbish, right? So his intentions really were to say, listen, this is what they're doing. They use these ingredients. They say these spells. How can this possibly amount to anything, right? So that was his intention. Whether it was in fact his intention or not is by the by. I mean, it's up to you to decide, of course. But his stated intention, at least, was to say, leave them alone. There's nothing to fear here. They're not doing any harm. They're not doing anything, in fact. Right. As a consequence, of course, his book, which described very clearly and very carefully and methodically what witches do, was then naturally snapped up by the witchcraft community and used as a basis for witchcraft, right? So anyone who wanted to learn witchcraft would pick up Reginald Scot's Discoverie of Witchcraft and find out the basics of witchcraft from there. in 60, so about 80 years later, 1665, I think it was, there's this new edition of the Discovery of Witchcraft that gets published with a load of additional anonymous material. Now, this anonymous material is what forms the core of this whole trilogy, in fact. That anonymous material was clearly based on informed, previously existing materials. So there's a lot of stuff from Peter D'Urbano's Heptameron. We've got a lot of stuff from Agrippa there. We've got a lot of stuff also coming from de Casaubon, so John Dee, and so on and so forth. Lots and lots of really nicely informed additional anonymous material. And that, in fact, is the edition of the book that most witches who were convicted of witchcraft were found to possess. So the 1665 edition, right, with all of this additional cool material, this additional anonymous material. Then, about 100 years ago, at the turn of last century, we get the Dover edition. So the Dover edition takes the 1665 edition, takes out all of the anonymous text, also takes out all of Reginald Scot's original material on his ideas on the nature of spirits and so on and so forth, really excises all of that. And all we have left is just the core of Reginald Scot's Discovery of Witchcraft, and that is what has been republished ever since. So this is the first time in over 100 years that we are getting access to that anonymous material, for one, and secondly also to Reginald Scot's theses on the nature of spirits and demons and so on and so forth. It's fantastic stuff. It's very, very interesting. This also adds onto that much of the Discovery of Witchcraft's practical material. So it doesn't include the entirety of the Discovery of Witchcraft, but whatever is practical in the Discovery of Witchcraft, wherever it's giving you recipes, wherever it's giving you processes and things like that, it's included here in the core texts, volume 2, right? In volume 1, we've got this analysis. So the analysis itself is John Madziarczyk basically speculating on who may have written the anonymous material and what he may have based it upon. Right? And then over here in volume 3, we've got the supplementary texts, which is all of the material that was never in the Discovery of Witchcraft, but that may have been the basis for whoever the anonymous author was who create the anonymous material that was added to the Discovery of Witchcraft, the 1665 edition. I hope that's kind of clear. So what do we get in this? Let me show you this third book first of all. What do we get here? We get a little bit of excerpts, or relevant excerpts, shall I say, of the Heptameron of Peter D'Urbano, of course. Then we've got Pseudo-Agrippa's The Fourth Book. So, of course, the Heptameron was included in the compilation of grimoires, which is commonly called the Fourth Book, but the Fourth Book is actually one part of what is commonly called the Fourth Book, which makes things really, really easy to understand, confusing. And then we've got practical selections from the 3 books of Agrippa. Then we've got a selection from Anatomy of Melancholy, a selection from Isaac de la Peyrère. Then we've got quite a lot of information from A True and Faithful Relation, right? De Casaubon's true and faithful relation of what came to pass between John Dee and John Kelly and some spirits and angels. Whatever the original super long catchy title was. Then we've got Description of the Northern People by Olaus Magnus, which I didn't know of. Then we've got William Harrison's description of the Isle of Britain. And then we've got The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fairies and Fauns, which I've which I've been threatening to review for the past 3 years or whatever it's been. And then Saxo Grammaticus, History of the Danish Kings, Book 3 of the Medicina Magnetica, and then a few tables. So yeah, we're getting a lot of material here, which is all, of course, referred to in this first book where John Madziarczyk gives his ideas on who wrote it, who wrote the anonymous material here, why they wrote it, and where they got their ideas from. Well, they got their ideas from, probably from the material in here. And the final result is this right here, which is the material itself, the anonymous material, with some, actually that's not all that's here. There's also some additional writings by the person whom John Madziarczyk suspects may have written at least a lot of this material. He's not entirely sure whether it was one person or many people, but yeah, there we go. So lots and lots of material, just so much. The books are available in paperback. They're available in this hardcover edition. Let me show you the hardcover edition. It's very much print on demand quality, right? Although it's not that horrible. It's not that waxy coating. I'll take that horrible away. I don't mind that waxy coating. But this one is kind of textured paper like this, and this is what the back looks like. So this isn't, it's not waxy at all, right? It's like just a matte textured paper. So that's the second volume, which is red. The first one is blue. There we are. And the last one, the third one, is black. There we go. But actually, this may be surprising, but I rather like the dust covers on these. I think that they're simple, they're smart, they are, it's, if I had a choice, I'd love to see these published by Scarlet Imprint. I think that this is exactly what Scarlet Imprint does, in fact, right? I think that this is completely up their street, and if you're watching, Peter and Alkistis, I think you should at least see what's in here and possibly reach out. I don't know if that's something that John Madziarczyk would be interested in, having his books republished in your gorgeous formats, but yeah. That aside, possibly Hadean Press might also be a good fit for the contents here. Hadean Press. Yeah, I think all in all, what I'm going to say is that it's an absolute travesty that this isn't better known, that this actually exists out there. I think that in terms of the form, it's a book, right? It's print on demand quality, nothing wrong with it, nothing particularly wonderful about the form either. It's box bound, perfect bound as they call it, and yeah, I mean, the form really is nothing to write home about, although given the fact that he's done this all on his own, I'd say top marks for effort there. Yeah, when you've put that much effort into your research and then that much effort into your writing, because by the way, it's very accessible style, very, very easy to read, very, very entertaining, very, very gripping, very everything that you want from an explanation, right? From an explanation of clearly an expert in his field, with a very, very vast wealth of of sources, and you know, I'm just flicking through the end notes here. You can see for yourselves. The education of the author is clear. The how well informed the whole trilogy is clear. I think you can really pick this up without hesitation. Is it worth going double the price for the hardcover edition? That's going to be entirely up to you. Let me just put them one next to the other so that you can see how they look like sitting on the shelf. There we go, trying to do this with one hand. Maybe not the best way to do it, but you can see that, you know, it looks quite smart, right? The three of them standing together like that. There we go. Yeah, they are quite smart with their dust covers on. And yeah, and after that, it's really about the contents. The contents are the star here. There's no question. There's no question at all. Thank you so much, John Madziarczyk, for your careful work here. I hope the rest of you enjoyed watching the video. I hope that you've learned something here, and that I've pointed you towards potentially an important piece of work. Yeah, don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. That really helps the channel, as always. And then subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. And then have a look at that join button down below as well if you might be interested in joining the Discord server. That starts at just $2 a month if you want to just get better access to me and better access to each other. Right? There's a really nice community, like-minded people, and yeah, it's a big joy there. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, as I was saying, and take care of yourselves. See you soon with another video. Bye bye.